What's up, everybody out in YouTube land? Boyd here with you again. Well, today I'm here with another little bit of a flashback video. This is the Atomic City model studio scale Klingon D-7 battle cruiser that I built way back in 2012. It was hard to believe when I looked it up on my channel how long it's been already, 11 years. And I went back and looked at the video and realized that I had shot that on my old Canon PowerPoint camera in the old 4.3 aspect ratio on low definition, so I really never got to show you guys a good look at this build. So I'm bringing it out here today to show it to you again. I've been going through all my models in my display room like I mentioned a while ago and bringing them back out in the shop and freshening them up and just kind of checking them over to make sure they aren't falling apart or anything. Everything's been holding up really well, but this needed to be dusted a little bit and just took a look at it. It's holding up really well over time. I had to go through a lot of work to get this model to turn out, guys. I remember when I first got it out of the box, being a resin garage mold, it was in horrible condition. It had massive amount of pits all over it. In fact, the detail on the engine nacelles was almost completely wiped out. So what you see here is my own hand sculpting. I had to completely re-sculpt all this shape right here, all these areas right in here. This grill work on the side had so many pits in it that it was unusable. I basically had to putty over that entire thing and then re-scribe all those lines myself. It took a whole weekend worth of work, of constant work. Same thing up here on the impulse deck. And in the end, it turned out pretty good. It's not perfect, but it looks a whole heck of a lot better than what it did. It wouldn't even been presentable. I was thinking I promised these guys I was going to build this thing, and I'm not even going to be able to show it to them because it looks so bad. But my usual hard-headed determination, I just kind of worked my way through it, and it was kind of I was really proud of it when I first got it finished. Now, the colors that you see on this thing are representative of the original series. This is how the ship looked. I referenced pictures at the time, which I'm not sure if they're still out there, but the prop was actually, the original filming prop was owned by Paul Allen of Microsoft for his Museum of Science Fiction, which was located out in Seattle, Washington. Paul Allen has since passed away, which is a shame because he was a huge Star Trek fan and he had the world's largest collection of original Star Trek props, including the original captain's chair and a lot of original costumes and, phasers, communicators, tricorders. I think he had an original Klingon disruptor pistol, all kinds of really cool stuff. But they had some really nice up-close detailed photos of this at the time. And this is exactly what it looked like. Now, the model was donated by Matt Jeffries himself just before he passed away. And he stated that the model was completely original. They hadn't done anything to it. They originally built two versions of this ship. One was this color here, which was the two-tone gray and green. The other one was two shades of gray. The two shades of gray version was actually used by Gene Roddenberry. He took it around the country with him when he was on tour, while Star Trek was originally still in production promoting the show. And according to Gene Roddenberry, he either lost it or it was stolen. No one knows whatever really happened to that. He also had the 3-foot miniature of the Enterprise, which was seen in several episodes, which he claims to have either had lost or stolen as well. So who knows what happened to that stuff. There are pictures of it sitting on his desk in his office, and that's the last time anybody ever saw it. But when Gene was presented both versions, he selected this one. He thought that the colors on this one popped a little bit more and were more interesting, so that's what they went with. Now, this model, the original filming model, was never lit. It only was, they put these little strips of black vinyl tape on the front side here on the command section to simulate the window ports, but there was no lighting whatsoever in the model. They never intended to get super up close to it, and most of the time you saw it from the Enterprise's view screen, so it served its purpose, and it actually looked really good on camera. So I decided to build this exactly like the original prop. This thing is a solid chunk of resin. In fact, it's really heavy too. It weighs about 25 pounds, and it's not hollow, so it's not designed to be lit. There are more modern kits out there now that you can light and everything, but I wanted to build this exactly like the original filming miniature, so that's what I did. Another misconception about this design, the original D-7, is that it had a photon launcher at the front, which in fact it did not. The original plans and the notes that are out there from Matt Jeffries state that that's a deflector array in the front. And in fact, I have the original AMT first release of the Klingon cruiser, which they didn't even call it the Klingon cruiser yet. It was called the Alien cruiser. that came with a little lighting kit. I have one of those vintage original kits, and in their instruction sheet they call that a deflector array. So at some point later, people started assuming, I guess because of the Klingon Katinga, that had the photon launcher at the front and at the rear, that these also did. On the original Star Trek animated television series, the cartoon show from the early 1970s, I believe that's the first time you saw one of these ships fire a photon out the front, so maybe that's where it came from. But on the original TV series, it didn't have that, and all they had was these disruptors on the front part of the nacelles that fired that sort of green effect and had that really unique sound effect that went with it. But that's kind of the story on the D-7. All the markings on this are painted on. I didn't use any decals. That was the first time I ever attempted something like that, so I was kind of proud of how those turned out. Gotten to be kind of old hat now, but at the time it was really, you know, scary to try to do that for the first time, but it worked out pretty well. But she's all holding up really good, you guys. Wanted to show it to you again a little bit better, with a little bit better camera and everything, so I'll take it back inside and put it back in its place. I think at one point in the future I'm going to come back and do some nice paint work on this base. I just did a basic black paint job on it at the time, but it's kind of similar to what I did with my Katinga. I think I'm going to come back and spruce this up a little bit with those, you know, classic Klingon colors and all that, and just make it pop a little bit more. But other than that, I'm going to leave it exactly the way it is. It's kind of a piece of Star Trek history, and you know, in its original form. It's just like why I'm not a big fan of the CGI that they've done on the remastered and all that. I prefer to watch the series with the original models. I mean, you know, the 1960s were the 1960s, and I grew up in that time period, and that's what I'd like to remember. I don't, you know, we've got plenty of CGI with all the modern stuff, and I just like remembering these the way they actually were. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing it, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later this week. Around midweek or so, I'm going to start on the 22-inch Eagle kit, and then I'm putting the finishing touches on the addendum video with all the questions that came in on the TOS 350 build series. I've started another build for my client Bobby, and you guys will be seeing little snippets of that. As I mentioned, Jerry at HDA Model Works is doing a custom base for that one, and you guys will see that at the end. It's a really cool design. Jerry's one of the best out there in the business at doing these bases and everything. He's so creative and does top quality work, and also very unique. You won't see anything else like it. So I think you guys are going to really dig that when you see it. So that's a wrap for this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing it, and we'll be back again a little bit later this week. Take care, and happy modeling, everyone.